Hi, I'm Ashley, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing the Booktube Newbie tag, and this tag consists of questions that will help you get to better know my channel and me as a reader. So let's get started. So question number 1, why did you start this channel? So in my everyday life, I don't really have anyone to talk about books to in person, so I wanted to create this channel as a place where I can share my love about books with others who love books. I do have a bookstagram that I created back in 2021, and through that I've met so many wonderful people and learned about so many amazing books through that community. But I've actually known about Booktube before I even knew about Bookstagram, but back then when I first learned about Booktube, I could never see myself actually creating an account. It just seemed really out of my reach because first, I'm very much an introvert, so the idea of putting myself out there like that scared me. And also I knew nothing about filming videos or editing, but when I learned about Bookstagram, I was like, oh, that's something I could do. So I did that. And then it wasn't until last year that I started thinking about creating my own Booktube channel, and I started to be like, I can do that. So last year I started trying to film videos and learning how to edit, and now here we are. So question number 2, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? So I feel like this question is very hard because there's so many booktubers out there and so many things have already been done. But for me personally, I am going to try to incorporate some of my other hobbies into my Booktube videos. So for example, in my reading vlogs, I'm going to also have baking in them because baking is another one of my favorite hobbies. Question number 3, what are you most excited about for this channel? So as I mentioned earlier, I'm just excited to finally have started this channel because I've been thinking about it since last year, and I actually had wanted to start it at the end of last year, but life just kept getting in the way. However, finally in May, I posted my first video. I'm just excited that I can finally share my love for books on this platform with others. Question number 4, why do you love reading? So I love reading because it lets me escape into other worlds and into worlds that are very much not like our own. And especially I love that I get to escape into fantasy worlds and get to see things that don't exist in our own world, like magic and creatures like dragons. Question number 5, what book or series got you into reading? So I feel like I've been a reader my entire life, and there hasn't been just one book or series that really got me into reading, but there are some that stand out in my mind from different parts of my life. So in elementary school, I remember getting into the Boxcar Children, and one of the ways I got into that series was one of my teachers had a bunch of books from the series, so I always used to read that when we had reading time. And then another chapter book series that I remember really getting into was the Secrets of Droon series. And that series I think really started my love for fantasy books. And then at some point I got into Harry Potter because my grandmother bought my sister and I some of those books, and I just devoured those right away. And I remember always being excited for the next one to come out. And then in high school, that was definitely my Twilight and vampire phase. And I just remember my cousin giving me Twilight and saying, you have to read this book. So then that was the last day of school for that year, and I went home and I sat on my bed and I just read that entire book for the whole day. And I finished it at nighttime, and I was immediately going onto the library website and putting a hold on the next one. And that series really started my whole vampire phase, because after that I was just reading all the vampire books that I could. And then after high school I went to college, and I was an English literature major, so I didn't really have much free time for reading because I had to read so much for my courses. So I didn't really read much outside my courses during that time. And then after I graduated college, I got a full-time job, and I actually started a new hobby. So I started cosplay, so that pretty much ate up my free time, learning how to sew and making costumes and planning conventions to go to. So it wasn't until 2020 that I really got back into reading. because that was the year that my work shut down for 3 months, and then also the convention I had been planning to go to in the spring got canceled, so I suddenly had a lot of free time. And since the world was crazy and uncertain at that time, I escaped back into books, and I actually started with rereading one of my favorite series, the Vampire Academy series. And then from there, I picked up the Infernal Devices and hopped right back into the Shadowhunter world. Question number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? So I don't really have any questions to ask them. I've always been really bad at asking questions. But so instead, I'll just share a few of my favorite booktubers. So one of the first booktubers that I ever watched was Books and Lala. And I just think her video concepts are so interesting, and I just find all her videos very fascinating. And then another of my favorite is Olivia Reads a Latte. I just love her weekly vlogs, and she always makes me smile and brightens up my day. And a third favorite booktuber is Katie Is Reading. I just really love her blogs. They're so cozy and fun, and we also read a lot of the same books. Question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Time. It's just going to be time for me because I never have enough time in my life. And so I have to juggle this channel with working full time and spending time with my husband and family and doing other house chores and life stuff. And I tend to be overambitious, so like I'll make a to-do list for the day on my day off and then realize later on that I put too much on that list to do in a single day, so I just have to be realistic about managing my time. Question number 8. When did you start reading? So as I mentioned earlier, I've been a reader for as long as I can remember. And one of my earliest memories is my aunt just giving my sister and I a huge container of all these different picture books. I remember just being so happy and amazed looking through them all. Question number 9. Where do you read? Mostly on this couch and sometimes in my bed. And then I also read a lot at work on lunch break, either in the break room or in my car. Question number 10. What kind of books do you like to read? Fantasy. So fantasy is definitely my favorite genre, and I read a lot of YA fantasy. Some of my favorite YA fantasy series are the Graceling series by Christian Cashore, the Dark Artifices and Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, and the Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. Though I have been getting into adult and new adult fantasy in the last couple of years, with From Blood and Ash becoming one of my new favorite fantasy series. And also I read some of Sarah J. Maas's books for the first time last year as well. And I haven't read Brandon Sanderson yet, but it is something that I plan to do and want to do. And I'll probably end up reading some of his books next year. While I do read mostly fantasy, I do read some contemporary romance sometimes, and some of my favorites of those are Beach Read and The Edge of Always and The Edge of Never. And I also read manga as well. And manga was something that I got into during my teenage years, and I read like so much of it back then, and I have slowed down a little bit, but I am trying to like get back into reading more of that as well. And question number 11, and the final question, is what does your book collection look like? So I have 2 bookcases in my husband's and my bedroom that are currently a mess that I need to reorganize because they're overflowing with books. So I'm hoping to reorganize that sometime soon, and hopefully I will also make a video doing that and also do like a little bookshelf tour then. And then I also have another bookcase in our spare room that has manga on it. So those are all the questions for the Booktube Newbie tag. I hope they help you learn something about me as a reader and about my channel. So thank you so much for watching, and bye!